But adding to that, Doc, is you know, now these days, I mean, someone who is part-time as a D&I consultant, and I see it within other workplaces and hear it from other people of color, where now people are looking to these particular individuals to be like their D&I consultant when that's not the role. They're just an employee, they're a chemist, they're a geneticist, they're a medical doctor. That's what they're trained for. They're not trained to be their D&I consultant, but often tokenized to be as such because you are the only person in there. So you were just talking about how, you're trying to help people navigate it better to treat their patients that, don't look like them or don't speak like them. Um, how receptive has it been for you trying to communicate this, and vice versa? How often are you tokenized for help in these certain realms? As people really just they mean to try to do better, but in reality they are just kind of leading that token role.
I think all I've mostly been confronted with is the vast majority, and these are young nurses. These aren't older boomer generation nurses where people may be more set in their value or their views of race. They're quick to become defensive because it's implying that they did not do their job or know how to appropriately screen when that's not what I was questioning. And so that's usually what I'm confronted with, and it's seen as a personal attack. And I don't know if it's sometimes white fragility that comes into play here, but I often am not finding a teachable moment to get through when I find someone that is white being dismissive of a person of color's medical complaint. And I see it often with, particularly in Minnesota, when I have mostly white staff and are taking care of Native American, people that have been just crapped on by the U.S. government for generations. They often are quick to minimize their concern or their complaint and say they're wasting their time. But if someone that is white comes in, they're faster into the room. And so I see it and I don't like it. So I will often check people when I feel that it is impacting care immediately. But sometimes I feel I'm not making a difference. I'm like talking to them blue in the face to try and get people to realize that their biases are affecting care.
Have And I don't mean to coming back to it, but I'm going to get to Susanna in a minute as I want to feed off of this a little bit, and then Brandy. But how does have you found any type of allies that kind of help kind of get the message across a little bit to kind of build that bridge?
I usually wait to see if there's another doctor that can support me, because when I'm often the only doctor of color, like, oh well, he's black and he's got that chip on his shoulder, he's always going to find a problem
Mm.
when there probably isn't one there. And it's when I get the white female doc or older white male doc to go, no, no, he's right, and I've seen you do this all day, or I've seen you do this all week, or whenever I work with you, this is how you treat this particular group of people. Stop doing that. Dr. Ferguson's right. He's just the only one that took the time to tell you.
Yeah, I see. That's key about when allies are important, and it's interesting how the dynamic is different in your field, because when being an industry that I am in, it's usually the older white and males that are the ones building up the defensive walls, and are typically not the ones that we think would be the allies first, right? We actually think about the younger people who are more open, but at the same time, they thinking like, well, I already know what's going on, but not really realizing their unconscious bias. So, Susanna, going to you, based on what Dr. Ferguson was talking about, as treating immigrant patients, and being sure they get the equitable care that's necessary for them as everybody else. In your field, we were talking about being, one of the few immigrants, or maybe the only immigrant person coming into your field. Have you seen or encountered any type of microaggressions or biases towards you, and how have you been able to manage those?
Sure. So at Myriad, my company appreciates diversity. So I feel there's a collaborative and tolerant culture. However, I speak to patients all over the country, and I have experienced microaggression from my clients. So for example, I've been told that when they hear my accent, that they prefer to talk to someone who is American. I have also been told by patients that I don't know how to speak English. Um, in the workplace, some of my coworkers have told me that, you know, I'm not a real Mexican because I don't like hot sauce, or because I don't drink tequila, or they look at my skin and they see that I'm fair skin, and they say, oh, you're too white to be Mexican. And those comments that are, you know, not meant to be aggressive or mean, I think speaks to how these prejudices ingrained in some people's mind. You know, the fact that, you know, they're saying those type of things that I find a little insulting.
So how do you what's your response to that? Like how do you manage that type of conversation?
You know, the only way to counteract that type of prejudice is through your hard work and your work ethic. So, you know, always, like Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high, right?
Mm,
Um, Trying to be the better person. And in my particular job, the client is always right, because I'm a customer support type of job. So if they want to speak to someone else, there's some other people that can talk to them, but I'm not in the position to defend myself because of the type of role that I have compared to what Dr. Ferguson has the liberty to do. Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah. So with that, you know, when you encounter some of these challenges, has there come a time where you just kind of felt discouraged because of your background, to maybe you're not going to get that certain respect, or be able to elevate yourself the way that you do? You talked about how you just put your head down and just go to work, but have there been times where you're just like, man, is it worth it? And how do you overcome that challenge?
um, so, you know, that's a good question. And when I get those type of calls, the main reaction is shock, you know. But I think putting yourself in the other person's shoes is important. You know, I understand that there's people in this country that think that immigrants are taking their jobs, or um, things like that. So I think empathy and understanding where people come from is the best way for me to deal with this type of responses that I get from people.
Gotcha. Thank you. I appreciate that. I know a lot of people would be interested in hearing that kind of message, especially um, kind of where we are now, where the racial climate is at its peak, and really trying to, like Dr. Ferguson, trying to educate people, but not educate in a way to where the walls go up. We're really trying to bring those walls down and kind of build these bridges. So, Brandy, you mentioned how there's really not a lot of women in your field, or not even women of color, and there's not a lot of people you can go to for advice or mentors. So how to go into talking to the students today, what would you recommend? And do you have a mentor now? And how would you recommend to other students, like when to seek a mentor to get to the path to get in a similar position you are in now?
That's a good question. I would recommend get a mentor as soon as possible. So the earlier you start, and you have someone to help show you the way, the easier your journey will be. So I would recommend you get a mentor that looks like you, that's as close to you as possible. But if you can't, you may need a couple different mentors. You know, you might need a, say, for example, if you're me, so I have a female mentor. She is, Caucasian and lesbian, but that's fine because she gives me a female perspective. You know, I also have an African American male mentor, so he gives me that, Black perspective. So if you can't find one that perfectly meshes, just, and you can always benefit from different perspectives and different ways of seeing the world. So I don't think there's any issue with that. But I recommend. I've had to learn things along the way on my own. So I would recommend just make it easy for yourself and just seek out help. Um, the sooner the better.
Yeah. How did you meet your mentors?
Um, that's a good question. You know, you say you go to a lecture and you see someone that you're like, wow, they really got it together. Really, in reality, they probably don't. They're on their journey just like you. However, they may have some skills and learn some skills that they can teach you. So if you see someone, if you have a professor or, even a TA, or, let's say you go to the dentist and you're like the best dentist you've ever been to and you're looking for the dentist, just seek them out and just ask them questions and just be curious. People like it, when you seem interested in what they do and, how they got
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Dr. Ferguson, do you have a mentor, or how would you go about seeking your mentor?
Yeah, so I actually reach out to him whenever I am forced with racial microaggressions at work, when I'm changing a job, taking on a new job. I consistently reach out to Dr. Jackie Hayes. He was born and raised in Louisiana, but he was the first attending that I had when I trained in the ICU when I was in San Antonio as a young doc just joining the Army, 26, and he he he's very humble, highly accomplished, but is so calm whenever he gives great, and he gives me great advice all the time, and it's always paid out. And he's always so reassuring. But also I respect, how he is as a father, how he is not only as a physician but also as a friend to others. And so yeah, for going on almost 20 years now, I've reached out to him whenever I'm at a crux or a crossroads. But I also go to him for, I was really fearful when I went out to New York to take care of people during as part of the COVID response. And not only did I need his ICU knowledge, but I needed his knowledge of what if I'm the only Black physician there when I'm taking care of people, or having to make a decision in a room with a lot of other white physicians where there's not a lot of data right now to support our decisions. How do I get my voice heard? And he's helped me so much. So, and I've had multiple mentors, either from Howard University. There have always been Black males. I'm lucky that I can find any in this field, because there's been just a dearth, and we've just been sliding off kind of like a cliff in regards to the number of Black male physicians that have been coming into medicine ever since the mid 80s. I think it's almost 12-1 Black female to male. So I'm here in case anybody wants to go into the medical field. It's very rewarding, a lot of hard work, but I would love to mentor.
Well, you brought up an interesting fact there. What is it that's not attracting a lot of male doctors? Like why is it dropping?
Oh, I mean, I think you know the answer to that. What is plaguing kind of Black males all over the US? I mean, if you look at the age group that's 18 to 45, not a lot of us are going to college as we used to. Some of us, there's that pipeline, school to prison. That's not helping things. There's not really many role models, particularly when in school, and we're often portrayed as to be feared in the U.S., not as someone to seek that can help you. So I feel there's many stereotypes working against Black males. And I feel that yes, we can only lift ourselves up, but so much more. But there are many forces working against us more so than I feel that is that is consistently as well working against Black females, but it's like double down on Black males.
So what type of solutions do you feel need to happen in order for that, instead of going from the school to prison pipeline, the school to the medical field pipeline, what steps do you think as a community, as a state, as a nation, that we should start thinking about doing?
I think a lot of it comes with volunteering. I think a lot goes into, if you don't see it, you don't know if you can be it. And so when I was in a junior in high school in the DC area, and I went to an after school program put on by a virologist, and he was a Howard University Medical School dean. I didn't want to go. I wanted to hang out in the streets with my cousins. And my dad, mom and dad, neither had a college education at that time. And he's like, you need to go to this program. And so it's just one evening a week. But if I hadn't seen that, he corrected the way I spoke to people. He even was trying to teach me what was necessary on how to be a man and how to be someone that's respectful and regarded amongst your peers and in your family. So he taught a lot of life lessons as well as getting me introduced into science. So yes, that's an example of a mentor, but he volunteered his time. He did not have to spend any time with uh, us folks that were in just an after school high school after school program for high school students. And I felt that volunteering the Boys and Girls Club, anytime I get a chance to speak to undergrads, but really intervening much earlier age where they can see, oh, I can be like him. I feel just the exposure is often enough, as many people are doing now with STEM programs in the weekends and in the summer that are really focused for minority and disadvantaged groups.
Yeah.